Welcome back to the Humble Togs Podcast, where photographers share the journey and not just the highlight reel. This episode's a little outside my usual lane. Most of my photography income has always come from portrait photography, where people pay me to take photos of them or for them, headshots, portraits, weddings. That world makes sense to me. A lot of photographers that are in it for the passion of photography also want to build a business where they sell prints online, and that's a whole different ballgame. Landscapes, wildlife, travel images, fine art images, the kind of work someone might want to hang on their wall. The interesting problem you have there is that you've got to try to connect with someone. Like, why would someone buy one of your artworks when it has nothing to do with them? Again, in my world, I always talk about connecting with families, connecting with people so that they feel connected to the things you create because you create it for them. But in this world, you've got to find connections and ways to give people an artwork, not only that they just love. There's millions and millions of photographers who would put up photos and say, look at this pretty photo, isn't it nice? Why don't you buy it? In this modern day age of marketing is not going to cut it, especially when you're starting from the ground up. You're not going to be able to sell images just by saying, hey, look at my pretty photos. So that's the big question we try to answer in this episode. How do you actually sell photos online? Do you need a platform like Art Storefronts? Is Art Storefronts actually worth it? It's a relatively big investment, and some people I've talked to have gotten a lot out of it. I talked to Rob here today, who has an opinion about that. He's also looking at Zenfolio or SmugMug. There's Shopify, Etsy, or something else entirely. In this episode, I talked to Rob, a photographer who also works full-time and then does this on the side, and he spent a few years trying to figure this out. We talk about his experience using Art Storefronts, what worked, what hasn't, and why online sales might have been slower than expected, and why his best result came from something much less sexy than just another website platform that's going to sell you on their products. Getting off his butt, putting his artwork into a local cafe, meeting real people, and telling the story behind the images. That's been the big win for Rob. So if you've ever Googled how to sell photos online or wondered whether Art Storefronts or any of the other tools online are worth it for selling photography as prints or artwork online, this episode should give you a much more grounded answer than the usual sales pitch. Let's get into it. Welcome, Rob. I was really excited to start this conversation and talk about something that's out of my comfort zone or out of my experience level, where you are someone that has been a photographer for a long time. You also work full time, right?
Correct.
But you've been a photographer on the side and trying to sell artwork to the world online. That's really interesting to me because it's a whole different market from where I am. I've always sold images to people that pay me to take the images for them. So there's a lot of photographers in Humble Togs Club, honestly, and people I talk to who are in your market, love photography, love the idea of taking beautiful photos, and then try to sell those photos as pieces of art. Tell us how you started in all that and where you are now.
So, yeah, I started my photography journey really when I turned 50. So that was 8 years ago now. And for my 50th birthday, I decided I wanted to get back into my creative side because I have a BFA in design and my emphasis was electronic media. So I went to school for computer animation, but I ended up in healthcare as an IT project manager. And so I had little kids, got busy, and just put my creative side on the side. And then when I turned 50 and the kids were a bunch older, it's like, I need to get into my creative side again. So I bought my first real camera.
Yeah.
And it was a Nikon D7200. It was still just the kit lenses with whatever you got at the Costco package.
Yeah.
And just started taking pictures with that. I love being outdoors. I love the wildlife. I love scenery, anything nature. Though these days I'll take a picture of anything.
Yeah.
But that's really where my heart and soul is. It's in nature somewhere.
Right.
So that's really how I got started with it all.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. We're going to talk about Art Storefronts, but what did you do before you found Art Storefronts? How did you start and what were you trying to do?
So basically I was just posting this stuff on Facebook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And more family members or people that are on your thread will say, oh, that's really cool. You know, can I get a copy of that or whatever? And you're like, yeah, I don't know that I really want to give you a copy of that, but yeah. So there was definitely interest, right? So there was interest in my work.
Right.
So that's what really led me towards, I need to find a way that I could sell this work.
Yeah. And then you went to Google and how do I sell images online? Is that what it was?
Right, sure. I mean, and there's many different ways to do that, right? You could do SmugMug. You could do, there's many other platforms out there. I don't even remember how I came across Art Storefronts, but eventually that's the one that I decided on that I thought was going to work for me the best. They hosted the website. They had back-end stuff that they could get your work printed. It was kind of hands-off. Again, I still work full-time, so this is really my retirement gig. Every free minute that I have, Kurt, I want to be out using my camera. So this was a way for me to get the work out in other people's hands.
Yeah. When you were Googling, I imagine, because I've done it too, and I looked into Art Storefronts as a thing because I actually emailed them and tried to set up a meeting because there were people in the club that were asking me, hey, I want to sell images online. How do I do that? And I was like, guys, that's actually not any part of my experience level. I've never done that. So I was going to have to try and research how I would advise people to do that. And I tried to set up a meeting with them, but their digital marketing is set up in a way that it's hard to do that. I was trying to say, hey, I'm interested. I wrote them a couple of things and said, hey, I've got a community. I'm looking for that. Please book a meeting. And no one got back to me. And clearly they just look at me and go, that's not my client. So that's fine. When you were looking for that, what do you remember was kind of sealing the deal for you and why you wanted to go with that platform over maybe SmugMug or something else?
To me, it was their link to the how to get the work to the people, right? So their back end uses a couple of different suppliers. And the supplier that I went with was Bay Photo. And I like the way that Bay Photo, it's got certain packaging things that you can do when you send out the photos. It just looked more professional. And I wanted to look very professional in what I did. I wanted the website to look professional. Art Storefronts handles all that. And I wanted the back end to be very professional. And I really thought that Art Storefronts really met both of those needs.
Yeah, and just to go over anyone that hasn't heard of Art Storefronts, and again, we're not here promoting the platform. I think we'll be probably saying the Art Storefronts name over and over again, and the SEO of this episode might get found for people that are searching for Art Storefronts. But yeah, like I said, I'm not affiliated with them in any way. We're just interested in how to sell images online. Art Storefronts, for anyone that doesn't know, is a business out there that is setting up your website so that you can just upload your photos to their website, and they talk about how that they can promote it to people and get it out there much easier than someone could if they were starting from scratch. What I'm interested in is seeing how that's gone. And Rob's been with them for 2 years now, is it, Rob?
I started with them in 2022. So, no, it's been...
Oh, it's 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah. So talk to us about how that experience has gone, how it started. Has it changed over time, and how is it now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely changed. They have user group. They have weekly calls. You can get a weekly technical support call just to hear other people's technical support issues. If you're having an issue, you can get in the queue and you can talk about what your issue is, and they'll try to solve it there right in real time, or they'll send you off to technical support. They have just open hours too. You just go there and just talk about whatever, talk about your business, talk about your wins. So they do have weekly meetings and stuff. I haven't attended those in some time now. I also was on another school platform with Artist Rise. So I joined the Artist Rise group for a while. I was with them for about 6 months. I really like that community. I really like Humble Togs community though so far. I'm really enjoying this, Kurt, so far. It's
great.
Great safe space. I really love it.
Yeah, great. The school platform is where we host Humble Togs Club. So talk to us about the process and what your sales have been and how you feel like you've gone over those 4 years.
So the sales are slow. I mean, they just are. I mean, Art Storefronts does have a lot of stuff that they're doing with AI now. They do a bunch of marketing for me. I pay for their monthly marketing where they do posts on my behalf based off of my gallery or my website that I have posted with them. They post to my Instagram, they post to my Facebook, they manage my back-end CRM, my email list. So they send out emails to people on my email list monthly.
Where do the people on your email list come from? How do they jump on your email list?
That's collected from my Art Storefronts website.
People would go to the website and manually sign up for the...
Yep, they subscribe to my newsletter, essentially.
Right. There's no lead magnet or anything where people would put in their email to get a thing? That's called a lead magnet?
So that's part of Art Storefront's strategy was to do monthly giveaways.
Right.
You know, put your image on a coffee mug or some other merch or sell a small print and do a monthly giveaway. And then how you get on that list is you have to give me your email address, right?
Yeah.
To get in and be part of the monthly giveaway.
Does that work?
No, I found it as a money suck. Yeah, I mean, it gets people on your list, sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a money suck, I thought. So I
I
haven't
think
done that in a long time too.
Right. I think the interesting thing about lead magnets in general across digital marketing spaces and all sorts of other places where you put your email in to get a thing that's hopefully valuable. I've even run one for Humble Togs Club. I ran a Lightroom 101 kind of little mini course of like 6 videos of how to like start using Lightroom if you've never used Lightroom. Similar thing. I ran it for a while, got like, heaps of people wanting to do it. But then I actually looked at it. I could see the metrics on it, and there was about less than 5% of people who actually even went and clicked on the thing to look at it. So I think when you're doing any of that stuff, like understanding your metrics of like how valuable is that list? Because I was like, oh yeah, I've got a couple 100 people here on a list. That's great. That's valuable to me. But then I was like, hold on, less than 5% of those people have even gone and clicked on a thing. So therefore, it's like those people that had put in their emails were also the type of people that just put their email on anything and don't really care. And I don't really get that, but there must be a certain type of personality out there that does that kind of stuff. I have no idea why, but bottom line is I don't really care why. I cared about the results. So yeah, lead magnets are tricky to get right. And in photography, I think they're difficult. I think in digital marketing, they're easier. So one part of the strategy with Art Storefronts is that they try to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's similar to my experience in the sense that you'll get a bunch of emails, but are those emails from the type of people that actually would buy artwork? And if you imagine the type of person who buys artwork, are they the type of person to go trying to win a free mug too? Because maybe they're not. Maybe the type of person that is going to buy a piece of artwork, they're someone with money, right? They're someone with money. They appreciate nice things. They are a bit more higher-end client. I don't imagine they're the same type of person that is putting their email address to win a free mug.
Right.
Yeah. But there are a lot of people probably that are putting their email address to get a free mug who just want the free mug and are never going to buy from you because they want the free stuff, right? So I think there's something to be said for marketing that is, this is a great idea, but does it align with who your ideal customer is, I think is the more important question.
Right.
And that's the interesting part of that strategy, looking at this from an outside perspective here. So the other thing about the thing you said about organic posting, you said they're using AI and they're posting organically to your social media. That's somewhat good, and it's a good system, but organic posting is a very slow way to build your business if that's the only strategy there is, right? And that's kind of across the board that I've found. I mean, I started Humble Togs Club all organic, and I built my first 100 members or so purely organic, but now I'm starting to run ads, and it's much more measurable and successful and easier on my time because the organic stuff took a lot of my time. But yeah, I'm finding value there. Talk to me about what other strategies does Art Storefronts have? So there's organic, there's the lead magnet. Is there anything else that they do on a marketing perspective?
They run a lot of sales. I'm kind of tired with that too, because now that I've sold some stuff, and not through the platforms, that I've sold some stuff like in real life. Okay. I displayed my work at a coffee shop for the month of January, right? And I went and I sat there every weekend for a few hours, come meet the artist, hear the story about the piece of work, and I'll be there. And that worked out great for me. I was able to sell my work that way. And that was much more fulfilling than anything that I've ever sold online. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. Yeah, look, get an email, you've got a sale. But having that one-on-one interaction with them and getting them excited of the piece as much as I was excited, taking the pictures of the piece and telling the story of the piece, that was much more fulfilling than any online sales that I've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, like if you think about your email list, even if you talk to 10 people on a day and no one buys anything, if you get their emails and get those kind of people signed up to you, that's a valuable client. That's a valuable client who may buy from you if you have your marketing in the future. So yeah, this is a really interesting topic, because in the world of online media and social media and all the things we talk about, I think a lot of people forget that getting out there off your butt and putting yourself out there and standing at the cafe and doing that thing, going to the business meetings, going to the networking meetings, like that stuff has always, always, always been so much more powerful than trying to do some stuff online. And they can go hand in hand or whatever, but if you're not doing any of the latter and just trying to do everything online and just trying to grow on social media and wondering why no one's buying, that's the main reason. And it's a deeper reason than that. It's what you said before, is that when you are face-to-face with someone, you can tell a story of the image, how it was created, where it was created, why it was created. That is how people connect with the work and an image, and as we said at the start of the episode, in this kind of space or in any kind of photography space, people have got to connect with what they're seeing, what the artwork is, and whether it's because they know the place it's taken or that place means something to you. The only expensive artwork we have in our home is a piece of art of a building in Sydney, Australia. For our wedding, instead of getting everyone to give us toasters and crap, we said to everyone, we want one artwork, and everyone just puts in a bit of money. It was about $7,000 to buy this piece of art. It's a painting, and the artist had a beautiful style that we loved. It's of the building and the area where my wife and I first lived, and it's a beautiful artwork of that area. It's not just of a building, it's of a Coke sign, the Coke sign in Sydney, which is like the Times Square of Sydney. There's one sign, it's a Coke sign. But anyway, what I'm saying is that we have a connection to that piece of art because it means something to us. And the artist never instilled that into us, but we kind of found that if you can, as an artist, get people to connect with the art of yours for whatever reason, that's when people buy, either when they connect with the piece of art, or sometimes if they connect with you as a person. People don't buy things as much as they buy from people. Humble Togs Club is another great example of that. The reason people come into Humble Togs Club is partly, although I say, I've got the line there, photographers who aren't dicks, which, instantly gets people an idea of who I am. But what you're buying is you're buying me. You're going, I like this guy. That's why people come in, because I'm putting out content all the time talking about this message, and people buy the me more than they buy this idea of whatever. So it's the same with artwork and same with what you're doing. What I think would be a better strategy, because we've talked about here with Art Storefronts, we'll go over it again, but we've talked about, whether you're going to continue with it. What I think would be a great idea is to continue to make organic content, but very, very specific, story-driven pieces of organic content of you trying to replace that thing of sitting at the cafe, but online. So if you created content where, give an example. So you were talking to me before about a piece of art which you created of a little Lego guy fishing, was it? Right. Describe that image to us.
So it was just a little Lego character. I've got him here on my desk here. I can maybe kind of show him just this little Lego fishing guy, right?
Yeah. Describe to the viewers. He's wearing yellow overalls and he's got an old man beard and he's fishing. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And so, just did some studio work in the garage, right? Because I want to always play with my camera. And I put this little Lego guy on a piece of black plexiglass, and I put some water on there like he's pulling the fish out of the water. I put it up on Art Storefronts, never thinking that anybody would ever purchase this silly picture, right? And sure enough, I'll be damned that, somebody bought it.
Right.
It's the craziest thing. I put it out there just because I needed more content. It was early on when I started with Art Storefronts, and I didn't have a huge portfolio out there, and I just needed something to fill a space, and it sold, so you never know. Somebody might have had a story with that. I don't know. I didn't really have a story other than I shot it in my studio.
Right. But I think what's interesting about that, if we think about selling photos online, most of the things that pops in our heads are like, sunsets, nice photos and whatever. And I think if you're going into that space and trying to think, well, what can I take photos of and sell online? What is really interesting, and what I know will sell, is really specific stuff that isn't like everyone else's stuff, the sunsets and whatever, because they may sell, but a really specific thing like a Lego guy fishing would sell to someone who either loves Lego, loves fishing, loves the idea of it, it's quirky, it's something different. That makes sense to me. Yeah. Do you remember what you sold of that? Was it a small print? Was it a large print? What did you sell?
It was a small print. It was a small sale, less than $50, but right. It was a sale.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And I think what's interesting is that tells you, out of all your portfolio, that one is a good one. What I would probably want to maybe play with is, if you created organic pieces of content and even potentially ads on social media, meta ads, that call out the exact audience that would want to buy that. The advertising space on social media is all about testing. It's like, try an idea, see if it works. So you could try something like calling out, fisherman dads, or, something like that. Check out this, do some behind the scenes footage of you trying to capture the image, story driven stuff that's showing how you did something, getting people to watch the video on social media. And then if you're someone who loves this image, click here and buy it. You can order online for your dad, test ideas of who is that ideal client who's buying that type of image. Love Lego is another way I would start potentially, like just that, because they're Lego lovers, right? Love Lego, check out this, build ads like that. I imagine you might fail a little bit, but you might fail your way forward a little bit. I've done a couple of things where I've spent up to $1,000 on advertising that the $1,000 I've been spending has been testing the stuff that didn't work. So sometimes you spend some money to figure out what doesn't work. But that one to me would be something I think would be good to do that. You showed me a image the other day of a bird. And we talked about that just on our Hello session the other day, where there was a really beautiful image of a bird. And I was like, that's such a beautiful image. If you called out the audience of bird watchers and people who love that particular bird, that could be another avenue. I think videos, honestly, because you want to, again, replace that thing of talking to someone at a cafe. You want to be talking like you're talking to someone face to face with your phone, make a video like that, and talk about that particular bird. And Facebook and Meta is smart enough that they will go and try and find you people who click on bird stuff on social media. So if your video starts like, oh my gosh, I love what's the bird's name?
It was an integral bunting.
There you go. So put that as close to the start of the video as you possibly can. This integral bunting is so beautiful. That's the first line of the video. And then you cut to the image, and then you're talking over like a voiceover. I was so proud to catch this image. I've been waiting for this bird for, making up a story even. It doesn't matter if the story is real or not. You want to tell a story for people to get engaged with. I've been working for years to try and capture this moment, this beautiful moment when the bird came onto this particular flower. The color of the flower complements, and speak about like an artist, like educating someone as to why a photo is beautiful, because a lot of people don't know what photos are beautiful and what aren't. So if you are saying the reason that this is beautiful is because she's sitting on the yellow flower and the blue and the yellow are complementary colors. And I love how the background is just full of this out of focus greenery. It was a real win for me, and I would love it to be artwork on your wall. Here's the link. And that kind of content organically won't do that great, because organically it just goes out to whoever. This is why Meta tries to make money, try to get you hooked on the idea of social media. But essentially the advertising and paying for stuff works so much better for that reason, that they want your money. But if you advertise that to the type of people who love birds, and we'll talk about birds, it might take a little bit of testing and figuring out how to do it. But once you get a few sales, what Meta will do is then it pushes the ad out to more people who are like those people. So, that's how advertising works. And usually people start it for a little bit or boost an ad and then go, it doesn't work. It won't work until you've really found your audience and Meta really understands who your audience is. That also sounds simple. It's also built through things like landing pages as well. So in order to do that, what you want to have is an ad, and then you want to have a landing page which says what the ad says, and then tracking in between those two things. So that takes a little while to build, but to me, something like Art Storefronts or whatever is doing okay stuff with all that organic pushing. But again, sales, marketing, and I say this to all the photographers I coach, when you're out there talking about money or anything to do with money, that's all the clients that you're going to attract. But if you talk about the experience, talk about everything other than the money, you will attract people who appreciate the stuff that isn't the money. If you talk about 25% off or $50 off, you're just talking to the people who care about the money, which is generally not the people you want to be talking to. I feel like I've just been talking for 5 minutes.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I sell my work a little differently now, too. From what I learned from the other platform, I now have open edition prints and I have limited edition prints. So like that picture of the bird that I showed you, that would definitely be a limited edition print.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask for a much higher dollar for that one versus an open edition print. So now on Art Storefronts, I kind of have it labeled kind of both. If you are looking for a limited edition, you need to call me directly, because I definitely want that one-on-one vibe with them versus an open edition that I don't care who buys it, what you think of it. I'm happy that you visited my store kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just going back to that ideal customer, there are people out there who will want to buy the one that's limited because it's limited and for no other reason. And a lot of photographers get that feeling of like, I can't charge much money, people won't want to pay for it. There are people who will want to pay for the thing that's the more expensive thing because it's more valuable, important. Like our artwork, if we go back to that example of our artwork, that's a one-of-a-kind painting. That's why it's $7,000. Right. It's a one-of-a-kind. So yeah, it's a really, really, really interesting topic.
So I think one of the things maybe we should touch on is what is your market? So a lot of people might say, well, what is your niche? I'm not so much into the niche thing anymore because I shoot just such a wide range of things now that Yeah, nature, I guess, is my niche, but it's pretty wide, right? But another question is like, what is your market, right? So I need to really dive into my back end and look at what have I sold and what kind of person has purchased that, what age are they, what interests they have, those sorts of things, and really build on that, my market and what I need to push out.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding who your market is and who are the types of people to want to buy your artwork. Where do those people hang out? What businesses can I get involved with to support / promote with? Third-party marketing is a great thing that people don't really understand too well. That's the idea. And a really obvious one is if you are someone like a dog photographer or pet photographer, Hannah, one of our members, does this really, really well. She donates her time and a lot of energy and other things to pet rescues and events that have pet things. And then she is in front of her market all the time doing the things she does. With what you do, it's a bit trickier because, again, you've got to figure out, well, where is my market? But just broad strokes here is that we've just discussed about how your market is people that would want to buy something that is quality and rare and piece of art. So that would be like going to the cafes in the neighborhoods that are more of a wealthy clientele, having the artwork be presented in a way that is really beautiful and not basic. Like having a sample print of one of the birds or whatever it is, has the torn edges. There's lots of different ways now. Bay Photo and is it Bay Photo? What was that place called?
Yeah, Bay Photo. Yeah.
Bay Photo and some of those other ones online, they still do very artistic things that you can sell without having to ever touch it. We used to, before any of that was around, we used to literally get the prints, art paper prints, and we would be on a table with a Swiss Army knife, scratching the edge off to make that ripped edge look. And then we'd take that print to the framer and frame it manually. But these days, a lot of those places, you can just order it. I don't know how they do it, but probably not with a Swiss Army knife, but they will create a piece of artwork that feels original and beautiful. And if you were figuring out, who's your market? If you, again, wanted to chase that bird market, that's one market that you could go and try to work on. But, simply the cafe idea, I think, is great. And trying to get involved and trying to help the cafe itself. You could spend weeks doing this and go to the cafe and say, hey, would you like me to photograph your food, a few photographs of your food for a poster, for an ad, for social media or whatever, in exchange for displaying my artwork on the wall. That's a really easy yes from a lot of businesses. Be like, yeah, sure. And set up that thing where you're doing every weekend, you're doing a different cafe and measuring that difference. I dare say that's a lot more effort, right? Physical effort, going out and putting yourself out there. But against paying something like Art Storefronts, I think you'll get a better return on investment.
Yeah, I mean, you still have an investment even when you're doing the coffee shop stuff, right?
Because, of course you do.
Yeah, so I had a decent outlay on that as well. No matter what you do, you got to spend money to make money, okay? It's just, it's a cost of doing business, right? So the coffee shop just worked out really well for me. They actually invited me back for the month of October. I'll be displaying there again in October, so I'm excited about that. But
great.
Yeah, I did. And I think that they saw that, hey, I did bring in people every weekend.
Wow. So you're helping their business.
I was helping their business, right? Because every weekend, I probably would say about a dozen people came each weekend. So it helped that it was a dozen more people that they wouldn't have normally had, right? And then I did sell one of my limited edition pieces there, and I tipped them really well. I'm like, hey, this is just, thank you. I think it went a long way for me because they invited me back.
Yeah, that's great. And honestly, I didn't think of that. If you're going around to other coffee shops, that's the other pitch to them. You can say, I did this at this other coffee shop and I brought along another 25 people into the coffee shop from my mailing list and my marketing. Huge win for them. Easy win for them. There's not $100 in coffees.
And I copied them on all my social media, right? It was Pepper Coffee in Barrington, and I just copied them on all my social media. So they knew that every time we did a social post, they were part of the social post too. So I think it definitely really helped them a whole bunch.
Do you collaborate on that post or tag them?
I just tagged them on it to make sure that they got notified or saw that I was putting it out there.
Right. There's a newish thing now with Instagram, and I used to tag people all the time, and I actually built my business that way by tagging people on photos on Facebook. When Facebook was first coming out, that was a big thing. These days, this idea of collaborating on a post where you invite someone to collaborate on the post, when they accept that, if they do, and usually with something like that, you would just set up and say, are you guys okay if we do a collaboration post? Instagram's really about trying to push those out to both audiences of the people that you invite and the people who do it. It will promote that to both audiences quite a lot. And I've even noticed that even just images of mine that are still images on Instagram that usually would get hidden go out when they get collaborated with. So I definitely recommend doing that, at least for a couple of them. If you had a number of different posts, you could do some tag, some collab, but it does show up on their feed, their main feed, if it's collabed. And if it's tagged, it's just kind of in the back end and they can click across to the other people. But definitely recommend that on Instagram.
Very good. Yeah, the more you know.
Right, yeah. So is the monthly cost worth it in your opinion for art storefronts? And again, I just want to preface here, we're not promoting or disparaging them, but after you've been doing it for a couple of years now, is the monthly cost worth it for you?
So looking at it now, I would say no, I don't have a great ROI on this overall the past 4 years. I paid for a lot of this in advance too, because you get a lot of discounts. Sure. I think I'm paid up for like a whole nother year, but no, I'm looking to possibly move to another platform.
Right. Yeah. Do you think that I think this for anything, is that you're getting out of anything what you put into it. And sure, some systems, designed to like sell you and make you pay up front and all those things, and that's your choice. But do you think that there are things that you needed to do to make it work better, or they really sell you on this idea that you don't have to do anything and they do everything, and you feel like ripped off that you haven't got the services that they were promised you? Where are you on that scale?
I think that they fulfilled everything that they promised, right? And I think, again, I work full time. I'm not in this 100%. And when I'm not working, I'm trying to have my camera in my hand and doing my passion, because that's what I live for. Yeah. So it's like anything, whatever learning I can get from it, that's mine now. Yes, I have learning from it. And yes, they offer a lot of hand holding or guidance. They also have their vlogs and their YouTubes that you can, they're always doing stuff. I think just for me, and if I was to start out again, I think I would start out differently. There's plenty of other platforms out there. You could just sell your stuff through SmugMug if you want. There's other things. The one I'm looking at now is Zenfolio. I learned about them through the PPA organization, Professional Photographers Association, and I was at the expo and I ran across their booth. And I really didn't think that there was anything they could do for me. They're like, how can I help you? I go, I don't know. Can you help me? I'm a wildlife photographer. And they sat down with me and they went through it all. And I go, well, yeah, it looks like you can help me. And cost-wise, that's just a fraction. And in their back end, they also send the work through Bay Photo. So I know I'm still going to have that same Bay Photo quality. They're not going to do as much for me as far as the social side. But now I'm doing other stuff on my social side now that I'm using a lot more AI. And I think we could have a whole nother chat about that, Kurt. Using a program called HeyGen is very, very interesting.
To create AI social content?
Yes. And I've got scripts through ChatGPT that they dump the script, they take me, and it looks like I'm the one talking. And it's really just amazing. Yeah. It's really amazing. It's really amazing stuff. So it's always changing, Kurt, right? You know it. It's always changing. What's working today might not work tomorrow, and what worked yesterday, who knows? Yeah,
I think for content creation, that is a huge part of a lot of businesses now, including Humble Togs Club. I've suddenly become this person that creates a lot of content to put my message out there. And a lot of my stuff is very raw and very real and a bit haphazard and a bit not that slick. So I've looked at that stuff and gone, look, I kind of like how a lot of my stuff is, I'm literally putting myself out there saying, hey guys, I'm failing forward at this thing, come with me. And I think that works. However, like you said, there's a lot of businesses and people who think to themselves, well, if I could outsource this physical doing of the social media content, type it up, whack it in the thing and get it to do it itself, that's a huge, huge win. And I think I've seen it already. Again, like you said, it's so good now, and it's only going to get better, that it's going to be a huge part of what social media will become, is just full of AI people, which are versions of ourselves or whatever, which is fine. And maybe that'll tire at some point. But I think certainly now it's a great tool to move forward. I think the important part of it, though, if you're doing that, again, is to come back to what am I saying and what is my story and how do I get that across? And if you can nail down that aspect, I don't care if it's you doing it or an AI person doing it, whatever, you will start to win, because you are connecting with people through story, through connecting them to the photo that you took without thinking about them at the time. And in hindsight, I'm now trying to connect someone with a photo or piece of art that people would resonate with and have on their wall. I think that's a great way to do that. And again, it's a very difficult thing to do, but if you do it well, yeah, I look forward to seeing what you come up with there.
Yeah, it's really about the storytelling. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's the storytelling, and it's hitting some emotional point with your end person, the client who's eventually going to buy the work, in my opinion.
Yeah, great. I look forward to talking to you more about that as we continue to work on your business and do other things in the club. Thanks for joining me today, Rob, and see you out there. And maybe love to do like a follow-up.
Sure.
Maybe in like a year or something. We'll be up to in the hundreds of episodes. I'll come back to you, Rob, and say, how's it going now? And that'll be a fun one to do as well.
That'll be fun. Great.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you for joining me today. If this episode hit home, share it with someone who might need it. And if you want to be part of a photography community that actually supports you, come check out Humble Togs Club. You'll find the link in the show notes or head to humbletogsclub.com. If you haven't already, make sure you're following the podcast and drop a quick rating. It really helps get this out to more photographers who need it. All right, see you in the next episode or in the club. Stay humble and keep chasing awesome.